All right, good morning. Can you guys hear me? You might hear my dog in the background too. So my apologies ahead of time. He's in his crate and he's just a puppy. He wants to come out and join us. Good, good, good. Welcome, Ashley, Melissa, Natalie. How I know this is Tuesday. How did you guys have a nice weekend? Welcome, Tasha. Got some more people coming in here. Busy, it was hot. Yeah, it was hot here too. Busy too. It was a weekend. You guys, I just want to say you guys did a great job on your assignments and your assessments. I could really tell a lot of you guys had a really fun time playing around with the shapes and colors. And some of you had commented about how much fun the assignments were. So it was great to see how many people were into it. There were some that struggled with the tools in Illustrator. That's just all part of the process. So yeah, you guys are awesome. So if you're one of those people that kind of, I kind of commented, try to revise this again, resubmit, go ahead and do that as soon as possible. I always have to put a 0 in the grade book. Say if I need you to revise something and resubmit, don't freak out that I put a 0 in there. That's just, that will change once you revise your project. So I just need to put a 0 in there. Good. Did anybody have any questions about week 1? Anything that we went over, the assignment assessment? It's kind of fun to play around with color harmonies and different color schemes. And, it's important to understand, what works. Oh, the artboards. You can change that, Tasha. You had a hard time with the artboards being so close together. Yeah, you could change that. Let me show you how. It's actually really easy. Let me go ahead and create them. Hold on one second here. I'm just going to open up like a regular 8x8 artboard in Illustrator, and I'll show you how you can adjust that. So just with anything, there's always preferences. So if you don't want your artboards to be this close together, you just have to go to your artboards and choose edit artboards. Mine just happens to be here. If you don't see it up there, you just go ahead and go to window and choose artboards, and this little panel will show up here. And on the upper right hand corner preset button, all you need to do is choose rearrange all artboards. And this is where you can space it apart. So right now it's showing it's 2 inches apart. So if I hit, if I increase this, let's say to 6 inches, we'll double that. You can type it in. I don't know why I'm just hitting this here. Click OK. You can see that it spaces it apart. There you go. And then you can also, you can also rearrange these. So if you don't want them to be all horizontal, say if you want them to be vertical, you can arrange by the column. Just click on that little icon there, and you can do it vertically. So it's all really preferences. Yeah. All right. I'm glad you guys remembered the lecture schedule too. I know it's a little confusing every week. We have it on a different day, but just think week 1 is Monday, week 2, Tuesday, week 3, Monday, week 4, Tuesday. Back forth, back forth. Same time though. Oh, okay. That's okay. Yeah, I mean, you don't, that's why you're here. So if you have any questions, I will try to help you with anything like that. I mean, you think that's, sometimes people think, oh, that's such a stupid question. It's not, you don't know what you don't know, right? So you have to ask, and that's why I'm here. All right. Well, welcome to week 2. We are just going to go over a few things in the Canvas area before we get started here. Don't forget to always check in announcements. Particularly, I sent a URL last week for how to create a color wheel, because I had a little bit of an issue, in the demo, just kind of getting those smaller circles. So I posted a URL video to that, and then also that little video kind of showed how to create that type of a color wheel. So if you missed that, definitely check that out. We're going to talk about the psychology of color, CREP, design principles, and then if we have time, we're going to talk about color relationships. Oh yeah, everybody's getting ready for back to school, huh? Ashley, where are you at? Ashley's celebrating. You must be down south. Okay. Yeah, because I have a lot of friends from Florida, and their kids started this week too. I have, yeah, wow, okay. Son started back today. Good. Natasha, everybody's excited. Mine started on the 23rd, and my first grader September 3rd. Wow, that's really late. I have a 5-year-old. She's starting kindergarten on the 27th. So yeah, that is late. But I think oh, you're in Ohio? Okay. So you're up north with me. Yeah, I think everybody's different, right? And I don't know if you guys have kids in kindergarten, but some kindergartens are full day, some are half day. Yeah, I'm excited for her. It definitely will be a different schedule for me. I'm so used to, working in the cracks of time is what I call it. 5th and 6th grades, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited. Yep. Pick up both up in the afternoon instead of one half day. Oh, cool, Tasha, yeah. Yeah, I have my daughter will be going into daycare for the first time, so that'll be kind of interesting. But she's half day. Yes, Natasha, you are from Akron, and I lived there for 6 years. Kind of cool. I don't know if you know, Cuyahoga Falls is where I lived. You probably know that if you're from Akron. Yep, that's where I lived. We actually just visited there this past spring. My boyfriend and I went just to kind of check it out. We went on that train tour, the Cuyahoga train tour. It was really cool. Oh, okay, Tasha, cool. See, it's so funny how you have so many different, it's a small world. Melissa lives in PA. Yep, I remember you saying that. Yep, it's raining today here in Pittsburgh, but we had a really nice day yesterday. You hate the weather. Yeah, the weather in Akron is crazy. Like, I've never experienced weather like that. I think one day when I was driving to work, I experienced a summer day. It was like sunny, and then it stormed as it was sunny, and then it actually snowed all in one time period. It was really crazy. Yeah. Yep. Typical day in Arkansas. Yeah, it's crazy. I'm like, where am I? I thought the world was coming to an end. My sister lived in Arkansas for a few years. Besides the scorpions and all the bugs, I lived in Florida, so I'm not used to the scorpion part, but, I heard all kinds of stories over there too. Yeah. Yeah. Crazy, crazy. Well, this is the time to go back to school, so hopefully all your kiddos are off to a great start. I'm excited for mine to go off and explore and learn and grow. All right. So as we go forward here, don't forget, you guys, I want you guys to do awesome in this class. For you guys to come out learning so much and being inspired and loving it and enjoying it is that's my goal. And for you to succeed, I succeed. So I really want you guys to all do really good in this class. So make sure you're getting that work in on time. I know you guys are busy. A lot of you guys have maybe 1 or 2 jobs, kids, life going on. I know, I understand that. I've been there, I am there. So if you have something that comes up, just communicate with me. I have a few of you who have done that so far. As soon as you communicate with me, hey, this is what's going on, I'm going to keep you posted. I can be more flexible with you guys. Okay. So make sure you're getting that. Week 4, just remember, when we get to week 4, you can't turn anything in late past that due date too. Okay, before we get into this stuff, let me go ahead and show you just a few things in Canvas here as we get started. So a lot of you guys may have not known about the little buttons for the week buttons here, but if you click on the actual week button, your learning objectives will come up, as well as just, kind of like a little preview of what we're going to go over this week. So learning objectives here. So we're going to differentiate between spot, Pantone, RGB, and CMYK color models. I actually just posted a really interesting infographic in announcements. So if you guys didn't get a chance to take a look at that, it's the first topic here. So go ahead and take a look at that. It just shows you kind of the differences between all three of these. So we're going to talk about this a little bit more in detail. So if you didn't get a chance to take a look at that, it's very interesting infographic. Just a nice way to visually see the differences. I know we're all visual people here. Yeah, it's very cool, very helpful. And it's important to know the differences because, there's different reasons why you would go with different color models. Okay, you're going to identify and apply the correct use of swatches and color libraries. Discuss the role color plays in the big 4 design principles. We always go over this. It's like, we're trying to, get you guys to remember this all the time because these are the foundations of what we do, the design principles. Analyze how color is used to create consistency in a print campaign, and identify and apply color correct resolution for print output. So just a little heads up there. And then course media, don't forget, very helpful and required readings and videos are in here every week. Don't forget, besides this lecture, you guys need to watch the first lecture, which is a 2-hour supplemental video before you get started. Okay, so make sure you're watching that. Here's the textbook chapters that you need to read, 1 and 2, and then additional learning videos from lynda.com. Very, very interesting. I mean, these are great if you, want to take a look at these. I know it's a little hard because the time frame of things, but if you kind of say, if you're in the kitchen making dinner, just click on one of those, have it playing. You can at least listen to it. And, it's always a good supplement. Okay, you guys are doing a great job with your discussions too, by the way. I see a lot of you guys interacting with each other and very substantially and using citations. So it's great, especially for a foundation class like this. That's great to see you guys starting off strong. So let's keep that momentum as we go into discussion 2. And I see a lot of you guys are posting already, so that's great as well. So what we're going to be doing for the discussion 2 is we're going to be talking about color and design principles. Again, the importance of contrast in design. So definitely read through this background. I won't read it word for word here. I'm just going to go to the prompt. What you're going to do is you're going to visit this website, which is designyourway.net, and scroll down. There are 60 wonderful examples here, and you're going to choose one poster from the site. So this will get you kind of started because we're going to be working on a poster this week, so it'll get you kind of inspired by certain posters and color schemes. You can take a screenshot of it and embed it into your initial discussion post. Describe how color, contrast, and repetition was or was not used to create impact. What mood was created by the color choices, and how would different choices have affected the overall design? I think this is a fun one because you get to really kind of take a look at some interesting posters here. So go ahead and click on this link. Scroll through some of these really cool posters. Be inspired. Check out how the color schemes. What would you consider the certain in your mind? Kind of go through. Okay, what color scheme would this be? What color scheme would this be? Just go through each one. And just talk about it. The one that you find most interesting to talk about, go ahead and take a screenshot. If you're on a Mac, it would be Command-Shift-4, and I'll give you those little crosshairs that you kind of take that certain ratio picture, and it'll place it on your desktop, and then you just embed it into your post. Now, it's important to embed the image so that we don't need to click on it and view it. We don't need that extra step. We just see it within your post. All right, so there's some really cool things to take a look at here, and there's reasons why certain, not just the foundations of the elements and how everything's shown, but the color. How does the color, communicate? What's the communication here with the color? What's going on here? And what if we replace this orange with another color? Maybe talk about that. Would it be as effective? Maybe it would change the whole look of the poster, the whole meaning of it. Here's one I like. I'm a big DMB fan here. What would you call this color scheme right here? Warm. Well, what would it be? You guys were talking about analogous, complementary, triadic. What color scheme would that be? Yep. I think it's a little bit of a mix, right? It's like kind of like analogous. Yep. I was looking for that, analogous, but then it could be a little bit more of a monochromatic if you're just looking at the black and white. But I would say definitely analogous because of the side-by-side colors on the color wheel. All right, any questions about this? You're gonna use a citation, for your citation, you might use articles that describe the big 4 design principles. That'll kind of support your perspective, and related to colors are the emotions. You can talk about the emotional part of that color. And then when you're looking at your fellow students' discussion posts, you might discuss how all 4 design principles were implemented to create a successful design. In addition to contrast and repetition, consider where you see alignment and proximity used. What was their impact on the overall success or failure of the design? And if you were to change the design in any way, what would you change and why? You can support your answer with the design principle that it relates to. So just kind of giving you some more tips on what you can hit upon when you are just responding to your fellow peers. Any questions about that? I think it's pretty straightforward. Okay, I'm going to take that as a no and go forward here. Let's talk about the psychology of colors, especially in logos. It's important to understand this. And I know a lot of you guys probably have taken a color theory class, even if it was in, high school or whatever. But let's talk about this a little bit. So this is pretty interesting. 84.7% of consumers cite color as the primary reason they buy a particular product. Would you say you're in that category? Probably, right? Yeah, I just bought a new car yesterday, and I was like, I was all about which color I wanted. So it's important, sometimes, you get stuck with certain things, and you're like, But for the most part, yeah, we do definitely take in a lot of influence by color. So according to research compiled by web design and marketing company Web Page FX, people make a subconscious judgment about a product in less than 90 seconds of viewing. And a majority of these people base that assessment on color alone. So in fact, almost 85% of consumers, just like we said, cite color as the primary reason they buy a particular product, and 80% of people believe color increases brand recognition. That's huge. So color is a huge factor. One of the things to keep in mind when you're creating a logo or any type of brand identity. All right, when we talk about colors, let's just hit upon the primary colors here. There's always more into a color than we might think. So let's look at the personality, emotions, politics, marketing, and chakra. I don't know if you guys know what chakra is. I'll get into that in a second. Just kind of sectioning off each color based on these sections here. So personality and emotions of red evokes strong emotions, encourages appetite, increases passion and intensity, and the red rose symbolizes love. So what brand out there, let's say in the fast food chain, uses red in their logo? Chili's, good. Arby's, good. I'm thinking of one big one. Target, that's more of a McDonald's. There you go. Yep, Target definitely does. Applebee's, yep. Probably a lot, huh? So encourages appetite. Red Lobster, there you go. Yep, Adobe. So I'm thinking about encourages appetite there. So yeah, that's kind of cool. So, you know, when we think about strong emotions, we use that color red as well. Politics worldwide, good job guys, represents socialist parties or communists. In the US, it's used for Republicans. So we use that also to identify in politics. Marketing, so using red increases the heart rate. So I'm sure if you were like a spa, you probably would not want that, right? So you'd go for the opposite, which would be what color? Blue, yep, because that's more calming. Red is more, you know, it's more intense. Oh, the red door spa, there you go. See, sometimes you can use it to be the opposite. Used by restaurants to stimulate appetite, creates urgency, often seen in clearance items. I know some of you go into shopping, see that little red tag, sucks you right in, right? So I know for me it does. I'm like, woohoo. Used for impulsive shoppers. I am an impulsive shopper, unfortunately, but I think we've all been there. So they use that tactic in sucking us in. So the chakra has to do with more of kind of the yoga-based healing techniques. Chakras, you have 7 chakras in your body, which are your energy centers. They're like your central nervous areas. There you go, yep. And your root chakra is located in the base there. So it's located at the base of the spine, and it's related to survival, safety, and physical self. So it's kind of interesting to see the connection between all of the different sections of life and areas of emotions. Here's some red logos here. Some of you guys already kind of pointed out a few of these, but there's Adobe, McDonald's, Target. You guys did a great job. So kind of cool to see which brands use red in their logos. A lot of food chains and even toy car places, music, and games. All right, yeah, end of sale, yep. Yellow, so personality and emotions, increases cheerfulness and warmth, causes fatigue and strain on eyes, makes babies cry, so don't paint your whole room yellow if you have a little baby. I never knew that until many years ago. I was studying more about color theory. Isn't that weird? It's okay to have some yellow, but you don't want to make your whole, all of your walls yellow. Stimulates mental processes and nervous system and encourages communication. Did you guys ever see those yellow pads, those little notebooks that are like all yellow and they have the blue lines on them? There you go, Ashley. So like those little notepads that are yellow. So those were actually made yellow for a reason, and encourages the mental process. So it's kind of like, you know, getting your brain to work for certain ideas. Pretty cool, huh? Represents politics liberals, is kind of liberalism, if I can say that word, in politics. Marketing represents optimism and youthfulness. So if you're, you know, have more of a younger target audience, you might want to use that color. Used to grab attention of window shoppers again, and shows clarity. In chakra, it's used for the solar plexus chakra, and it's located in the upper abdomen between navel and sternum, and it's related to personal power, will, and self-esteem. So the theory is if you're, you know, have issues with self-esteem, you can use yellow crystals and meditate with those within the abdomen area. And that's just going to give you a way to move those, move the energy that's being stuck there. I kind of got into chakra many years ago. It's kind of very interesting. There's some yellow logos here. Some of them are kind of a mix of yellow and other colors. There's IKEA, again, McDonald's, Best Buy, Sun Chips, Hertz, National Geographic, which I think they just changed theirs. Oh no, I'm thinking of Discovery Channel. Discovery Channel just changed their logo. Okay, and the next and final color we're going to take a look at is blue. We just talked about the opposite of red is blue. And as far as the emotional part, personality, it's associated with water and peace. And it's most preferred by men. So there's a gender thing there. Represents calmness, serenity, curbs appetite. So I actually heard if you put a blue light bulb in your refrigerator, it's going to make you eat less. So just a little, maybe you can try that and see if it works for you. Known as a cool color, it increases productivity and used in office settings. In politics, in worldwide politics, it represents conservative parties, and in the US is used for Democrats. Yeah, so if anybody uses the light bulb thing, let me know how that goes for you, because maybe I'll have to try it. I think it has something to do with how the food looks, maybe less appetizing. I'm not sure. Okay, in marketing, it's often used in corporate business because it is productive and non-invasive, creates a sense of security and trust in a brand. So if you were a brand that wanted to show a sense of security and trust, what type of brand would benefit by using blue in their logo? What industry? Banks. There you go. Perfect. Yep, that's what I was looking for. Maybe even security companies, right? So that would definitely work for them. Police. There you go. Perfect. Chase Bank. Yep. US Bank. Good. Yeah, so that gives a sense of security. In your chakras, again, this is located on the throat chakra, base of the throat, and relates to communication, truth, and self-expression. So if you're having a hard time communicating, you might take a blue crystal and meditate with this on your base of your throat to get your energy moving. Very good. Here's some blue logos. Walmart's a big one, Facebook. There's a lot of big ones in here. Pretty cool. JP Morgan, Oreo. Pretty cool. All right, going forward here, we are also going to be hitting upon the principles of graphic design. You guys are going to be talking about contrast. And basically what that is if two elements are different, it makes those differences striking. So here's an example of the Mad Men poster using really high contrast, reversing out, making something more, you know, striking and visually striking, memorable. So contrast is key. Repetition means you repeat elements to direct, organize, and structure. You can unify your pieces this way. For instance, here's some business cards here. If you have a pattern, say in the background here are these lines, you might repeat that in different brand identity pieces to go along with your business card. So not only is it, you know, organizing it, it's unifying it as well. Alignment, a big thing that you guys need to really kind of pay attention to. I have a lot of students that have issues with alignment. You're going to hear my clock here, sorry guys. You're going to line up elements to create visual structure. There's a reason why we align things. You know, we're organizing elements so that it's easier to read and view. You can hear my clock here. I used to have a little cover over it so it wouldn't be so loud, and I took it off. Now I'm like, I should have probably kept that on. All right, we all know that it is on top of the hour here. Okay, so proximity is the last principle. Clump together related elements. This is a tough one to really get. You know, I think as a student, when you're starting out, proximity is a little challenging. What that is just clumping together relatable items so that their spatial relationships organize and emphasize. So, you know, for instance, a headline would go with a subhead and a body copy. You would have space after that, you know, and then grouping more things, kind of sectioning off certain areas so that it doesn't all run together. There's more emphasis on certain areas. So proximity is kind of a challenging one, but it's definitely effective when you're applying it to your designs. All right, so think about that as when you go forward with your principles of design. Graphic design tips and tricks, you know, some things to think about. Fonts, you should limit the number of fonts on your page. You don't want too many. Oh, there you go. Well, you know, some people are challenged in different ways, Ashley. So there's a reason for that. If you use too many different fonts, it's going to become disconnected. It won't be unified. Text on top of high contrast background is difficult to read, so just kind of keep that in mind. We also have the KISS rule here, so keep it simple, stupid. Simple can be beautiful. I think this is, again, one of those things that sometimes you have to get through designing very complicated stuff. Just, I don't know why. And I've been there before when I was a student in my bachelor, you know, getting my bachelor's, and looking back at my work a year after I graduated, and I think, oh my gosh, like I just designed way overboard. So I think that in time, that's something that you will refine and realize and kind of edit out certain things to get to that point. It's like all part of maturing as a designer too. Colors, limit your colors. You know, you want to keep it simple. Pick a color scheme that works. High value colors are high contrast, but also easy to class. Stand out, make your designs unique, distinct, and easily recognizable. So think about big brands like Nike, Apple, and Volkswagen, simple and recognizable. All right. Now, does anybody know the difference between, does anybody know what a spot color is? When you say spot color, maybe you know it, probably not, right? So spot colors are already it's like mixed ink that's already pre-mixed. And it has its own unique ink mixing formula developed by Pantone. So you'll see on this top visual here, that's a Pantone swatch book there. And that's when you go into any type of design agency or in-house design company, you'll see those swatch books probably on every desk. Maybe more than one, because there's different kinds. And what that is if you want to use a color that doesn't change on press. So let's for instance, let's give you an example. So somebody brought up Target, so I'm going to bring up Target. Target logo, we all know, is red, right? Well, they have a particular red. It's not just a CMYK RGB red. It's a pre-mixed ink color. A lot of the top brands do that because they don't want that color to change in any way. They want to keep it consistent. That red will always be the same no matter how it's printed, if it's a spot color. If the Target brand used a CMYK color to make up the red that is their red now, it probably will change based on, let's say, press, paper, for example. So it's not very consistent. So that's why spot color is used for businesses, particularly bigger ones or ones that have more budget money to spend on spot colors because they're a little bit more expensive. But they keep the consistency of the color. Okay, so that's what spot color is. Process color is, like I said, it's the 4 colors, CMYK. Process color is a little bit more inexpensive than spot color. The only difference between the spot and process color is spot will be consistent in the color and how it looks across the board on any type of media. Process color may change based on, like I said, paper, quality of paper, like if you have like a gloss on the paper, or maybe a different web press might, you know, print a little darker of a certain color. Okay, so that's the differences between. So the most common method of achieving color in printing is referred to as CMYK. That's the most common four-color process, it could be called. So if you ever hear somebody say CMYK, that's called a four-color process, or it could be referred as 4/C process, or even just process. To reproduce a color image, a file is separated into 4 different colors. So you'll see, say, the Target logo. You'll see it, the cyan, magenta, yellow, and black, and then it'll be put together to create the red. So during the separation, screen tints comprised of small dots are applied at different angles to reach all of the 4 colors. The screen separations are then transferred to 4 different printing plates, 1 for each color, and run on a printing press with 1 color overprinting the next. The composite image fools the naked eye with the illusion of a continuous tone. Process colors are represented as percentages of cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. Varying the percentages offers thousands of color possibilities. When 4-color process printing is used to reproduce photographs, decorative elements such as borders and graphics can be created out of process colors. This helps to avoid the added expense of the extra plate needed to print each spot color. So if you were to take a loop, do you guys know what a loop is? And I always like to do this in class whenever I taught on ground. I can't do this with you guys. So a loop is like a little magnifying glass. You put it over your eyeball. You can kind of look real close at something. A loop, magnifying glass, pretty much. Yeah, so if you get a little loop, we used to have a little loop in school because, you know, we did the old school printing processes. If you were to, say, take a magazine out and put the loop on your eye and then look right onto the photograph on the magazine, you'll see all those little dots, all those little, I want to say halftone dots, the CMYK dots that comprise that image. Now, if you use that, that's a CMYK image. That's using all those dots to be, you know, pulled together to create that image. Now, if you were to take that loop and put it over that Target logo that's printed with a spot color, you won't see those dots. It's a spot color. It's not using those dots. It's not using cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. It's using a pre-mixed ink, so one type of color, and you know, it will not show an array of dots. So that's kind of how you would know differences too. Okay, so converting spot to process. So there is times, and I've had this many times happen. I used to work for an ad agency in Akron, and one of our big clients was First Energy. Can I repeat that, please? Okay, hold on one second. I used to work for design for First Energy, and they have their logos blue, but it's a certain type of Pantone blue that we always used to use. I forget, I think it's like 32 on the Pantone swatch book. But they didn't always use the Pantone for everything that they printed because that would be too expensive. So for example, they might use it for something more, you know, if they're going to do a business trip and they were wanting to have their logo placed on, you know, business material like brand identity pieces, they would have that printed in Pantone color. But they also did bill inserts. So you would get your energy bill and you would get your bill in the mail with the envelope. Those are probably sent out to thousands of people. So they're not going to put the extra money into making that a Pantone color on those pieces of paper because it's just a bill. So you had to convert the Pantone to a spot color because they didn't want to use that spot color in that regards. So oftentimes a spot Pantone matching system color is requested when creating a process printed piece. To save money, the spot color would be evaluated to see how it will look if printed in CMYK. While some colors will be stimulated well, there are many that are outside the possible color gamut for that process and will look quite different. As the quality of the resulting color conversion is very subjective, the designer can make decisions using the color bridge guide as well as the Pantone extended gamut coded guide. Most Adobe programs can convert spot to process right within the program. So basically what they're saying is sometimes the color, when you convert it from a spot color to a process, it may look very different, like really different. And in this example of First Energy, their blue looked really different when it was converted. I mean, night and day. It went from a very vibrant blue to a very dull blue. So in that case, what we needed to do was take that spot process book, which I can't show you now because I don't have it, look at that particular spot color and match it the best I could to the process color in the book. So not necessarily the one next to it that it would convert to. I might have to change it to another one to make it look a little bit brighter or, you know, more bold. As far as repeating what I just said, Natasha, rewinding back, if you were to look at a magazine and put a magnifying glass up to, say, a photograph in a magazine, you'll see all these little dots that are comprised of the image, which are CMYK dots. So you'll see the blue dots, the magenta, yellow, and black kind of comprising that image. That's when you know it's a process color. If I were to put that magnifying glass over a spot color like the Target logo, you wouldn't see those dots because it's a pre-mixed ink. They're not using the separate plates like CMYK does. Yep. There's a Pantone color picker. So if you're using, say you wanted to use a Pantone color, a spot color, this is how you would find it. And basically you would go to Window in Illustrator, go to Swatches. Swatches you would open up Open Swatch Library, and then in there you would have color books. And those color books are based on the paper that you're printing on. So that's another consideration. You might be printing your piece on a coated paper, which means it has kind of like a coating on it. Maybe it's gloss, or an uncoated, which would be more of a matte. Now there's a big difference sometimes with each one of those. Maybe the coated would be more vibrant, so you want to see both sides depending on the paper that you're printing on. And both are there to take a look at. And also, when you're looking at the Pantone book, it'll show you both of those. So you'll see it actually printed on that paper to see what that looks like. Any questions about that? Okay, I know it's a little confusing. That's something that I really didn't know too much about until I actually got my first job too. And I worked really close with not only my my boss, who was the owner of the agency, but also the printer. Printers really help you learn a lot too. But it's important for you guys to understand what these color modes are so that you're using them appropriately for your projects. All right, I'm going to take a 5-minute break because I've been talking for a while here. I'm going to give you a break, and then we're going to get into your assignments. So I'm going to show you your assignment 2 and your assessment 2 when we get back. I'll kind of walk you through each one, give you a little demo, see if you have any questions. Does that sound good? Oh, BKB. All right, see you guys in 5 minutes. Okay, can you guys hear me? Okay, you might hear some construction going on outside. Sorry about that. All right, let's go forward here. Does anybody have any questions of anything that I went over so far? Awesome, thank you guys. Good to go. All right, awesome. All right, let's get into your week 2 assignment 2. Let's read over it. Let me know if you have any questions, and then I'll kind of start the demo so that we can see how to get started here. Okay, I think this is kind of a fun project here. So basically what you're going to be doing is you're going to create a campaign. You're going to get a logo. So you're going to get a black and white logo, and it's going to be this Aqua Excursions. And you're going to apply 2 different color schemes to this. Okay. Go ahead and read through the background here, and I'm going to go to the prompts. So for this assignment, you'll create 2 color schemes for the Aqua Excursion logo. One utilizing 2 colors, and the other utilizing 3 colors. So you can see here, you know, the example is showing the 3 colors first and then the 2 colors. You don't have to do those colors either, completely up to you. Whatever you think works best. Okay, so part 1, there's different parts here. So part 1 is define and apply a color palette to a logo. So you're going to download the black and white Aqua Excursions logo. You're going to create a new 8.5 by 11 Adobe Illustrator document. You're going to utilize Pantone colors to create 2 different color combinations that are effective solutions for the kayak industry. Just important to note, these need to be Pantone. Remember how I showed you how to find that? I'll show you it again in Illustrator. You're going to create two sets of boxes and fill each box with your chosen colors, just like you see in the example above. Duplicate your swatches and convert the colors to CMYK. I'll show you how to do that. Note if the color change is pronounced or minimal when you do convert it. If it is pronounced, consider choosing a different color. So for instance, if you chose a blue that really changes to a dull blue when you convert it from a spot to CMYK, you might want to change it. Open the provided logo in Illustrator, copy and paste the black and white logo into your file, and apply the CMYK values of each theme to the black and white logo you downloaded. You're going to save your file as a PDF in the end for submission. So that's the first part. And I'll go through each step. Part 2 is your written rationale. You're going to write 150 to 200 word rationale in Word that explains the reasons why you chose the colors in each theme. You know, you might want to talk about the colors in relation to the brand itself, and then also the emotional part of the color, the personality of that color. Save, and also color scheme. Save your file as well as a Word file to submit it together. All right, then you're going to create a folder, and you're going to name it this name with your first and last. You're going to put your Word document with the rationale and a PDF of your logos with color themes into this folder, and you're going to zip it. That zipped folder is what you're going to submit. Any questions so far? And like I said, I'll go through this kind of in my own little demo so I can show you how to approach it. Okay, so go ahead and open up Illustrator, and you're going to create 8.5 by 11s. Let me do that. Hold on one second. Okay, so I just went in Illustrator and I went File, New, and you're going to choose 8.5 by 11. If you don't see it over here, you can type it in here, width and height. I see it right here, so I'm good. You're going to want to just do one artboard. That's fine. And here, I would just keep it RGB for now, and I'll show you how to convert that. Make sure it's 300 pixels per inch. Okay, so here's your artboard. Let me get rid of that. Okay, in the meantime, I'm going to go back into Canvas. Sorry for all the back and forth stuff. You're going to click on this Aqua Excursion logo, and it's going to download the AI file. Okay, and the AI file, when you open it in Illustrator, will look like this. So it's going to open it up in its own separate file. So it's just a black and white. So what you're going to do is you're just going to select all. So either click and drag over or do Command A. And then you're going to do a Command C for copy. And then go back to this tab, which is your, and let's save this. It's DES114 assignment 2. And we're going to just save this as an AI file. I'm going to place it on my desktop. This is your working file. And then do a Command V, which is a paste. Go ahead and place it anywhere up here. And then what I would do is do an Alt drag or Command paste again, which would just make a double copy of this. Okay, and just kind of place it here. You can kind of align it if you group these and you select them both. So if you select all, go up to Object Group. Same thing here, or Command G is Group. Select both of these after you group them and go to Align. You can align these center so they're perfectly centered. Okay. All right, I would ungroup these once you're done. So go ahead and ungroup because we need to get in there. Any questions about that? Pretty easy, right? And you just close out of that logo. Okay, so think about the color schemes. You might even want to go online and look at other kayak colors, kayak brands. So for instance, I'm just going to look up kayak brand logos. On like Google image search here. And some stuff doesn't relate to it, but for the most part, you can kind of take a look at what other people are doing. Maybe even just like sports related, fishing. Take a look at some of the color schemes used here, just to kind of get some inspiration, okay? And then once you kind of get the colors that you have in mind, you're gonna do a 2-color and a 3-color scheme. And you're going to use Pantone colors to create these, okay? So what you would need to do is go up to your window. Oops. Swatches here. Get all this stuff out. Okay, so once you have your swatch panel box up here, you want to click on the upper right-hand corner of your swatch panel to go to Open Swatch Library. Let me see if I can move this over so you guys can see exactly what I'm doing here. Click here, go to Open Swatch Library. Can you guys see that? Hopefully. And then what you want to do is you want to go to Color Books. You might need to do a screenshot of this. That's fine. We just talked about this earlier in the lecture. And you'll have different types of Pantone colors. Now, this all depends on what you want. You can do, like if you're looking at a pastel and neons, you would choose that. There's metallics that you can choose. There's solid coated and uncoated, color bridge. All these kind of all relate to different papers, different inks. What we're going to be doing is just focusing on Pantone solid coated and Pantone uncoated. So what I would say is just use the Pantone and solid coated. That's pretty much the general one that you would use. You know, there's a lot in here. Once you kind of see some color books in the working world, you'll kind of understand the differences. But the solid coated is the one that we're just going to go with. We'll just say it's a coated paper. Okay, that's going to, once you select that, that's going to bring up all of your swatches for that. So I'm going to get rid of this. Ton of pre-mixed inks here, and they all have a different number. So if you just highlight over top, it'll give you a Pantone number. So if you wanted to match that up with the book, you would look up, say for instance, you like this red, you would look up Pantone 206 coded, and you can see that in your color book. Okay, any questions about that? I don't want to go too fast. Does everybody know how to get there? Okay. Now I'm just going to kind of pick out two different color schemes that I think would look good with this. So two totally different ones. So this top one will be a 2-color, and then this bottom one will be a 3-color. Okay. So, you know, you can go in here and experiment with the colors. If you know the colors already, you can go ahead and click in each individual piece here. I'm just using my selection tool. And like I said, ungroup it so you can, you know, select these different sections. All right, so I'm going to go with this one. I'm going to go with a deeper yellow. And this is my 2-color one. And let's do like a, let's do more of a bluish green here. Kind of like that one. Okay, you might want to make note of this. So it's 327. I'm going to make this same color 327. So it's up to you. If you want to just make, I wouldn't do each individual letter a different color just because it makes it harder to read. So whatever colors you choose, make it that full, you know, the words all that same color. I've had students that'll do like red for the A, blue for the O, yellow for, you know what I mean? Or whatever, it'll like for the 2-color, they'll just flip the colors and it just makes it hard to read. So I would either kind of swap out the swatch here with a different color and then the name. You can make this, you know, obviously I'm using a yellow, so this would be hard to read in that gold yellow. So I think that works perfect for that. Okay, the next one, so this is my 2-color. The next one would be a 3-color. So maybe I would go about this a little differently and maybe try a more, you know, like maybe a blue type of a color, and then maybe this would be red. So let's do a deep red here. And then this would be a 3rd color, and maybe I'll do a little bit more neutral gray for this. Let's go a little darker though. Okay, so that's considered a 3-color. Okay. That's 1, 2, 3. Now take your square, your rectangle tool, sorry. Hold down the Shift key, and you're going to make a little square. And I'm going to zoom in here. Now let me pull this aside. You're going to do an Alt drag of that square. Side by side, make sure they're aligned. If you have go up to Window, make sure that your guides, under View, your Smart Guides are checked. It'll kind of tell you if they're aligned. It'll show like little alignment line there once you start moving things around. Okay, then do a Shift, select both squares, and do an Alt drag. This will give you a copy of what you just did. And I want to align these with this. So let's go ahead and do that. If it's giving you a hard time, you might need to group each like top and bottom, and then do a select all and align these. Oops. Spatially here. So it just needs to go up a little bit. And then just kind of center this below the logo. Okay. Do the same thing, just copy. I would just do an Alt drag, copy this down here, but you're going to add an extra row here. Ungroup. Ungroup. So you're just going to select these two and do an Alt drag. Okay, that's not going to work here for me. There we go. And I'm gonna make sure that these are all aligned. Is this grouped? Yeah. So I'm just gonna select the top row, make sure they're all aligned on the tops, and then distribute center. Same thing here. Using my alignment tools. There we go. Looks good. Any questions about that? And then I'm just gonna center this here. So it's like little swatches. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in on this first one. And I'm going to select this first color here. And with that selected, see how it kind of shows up in the fill here? Just double click on that. When you double click on that, it's going to show you this color picker. And this is going to tell you your RGB number codes, your color codes, CMYK, and your web color here. Shows you the difference between this green when it goes from a Pantone to a web color, which is kind of significant there. What we're going to do is we're just going to click on color swatches. We just added that color swatch to our swatches. Click OK. Same thing here. Just click on that, double click on the yellow, choose color swatches, and click OK. It's just going to add it right there. So now when we go to color swatches, in your window, they should have it in your color swatch window here. Here's the Pantone 327, and this is 7406. So with that being said, I'm going to ungroup these and then select the first two boxes here. We're going to make that yellow. And then the next two boxes will be this green to 327. So they're both that same Pantone color, okay? Now, what you're gonna do, because we wanna show the top two, these are all Pantone colors right now. Top two will be your Pantone colors, and then the bottom two will be your CMYK process colors, okay? They're not there yet, they're still the Pantone colors. So this is an extra step that you need to follow. And I'll be looking in your swatches palette to make sure that you're doing this correctly. All right, so see how this Pantone, can everybody see there's like a white triangle with a dot on the very corner of this Pantone color swatch? Can you see that? Okay, that's another indicator besides the name here that it is a Pantone color. Okay, see above here, see these swatches? They don't have that. And then you can obviously see that they are CMYK because they have the numbers here. But if you didn't have the name correct, that's how you would know that this is a Pantone because it has a little white corner with a dot, and this doesn't. That's a CMYK. Okay, so we want to convert this color on the bottom of yellow and this color of green, we want to convert that from a Pantone to a CMYK. Because we were just talking about that. You know, maybe this logo needs to be printed in CMYK in certain instances because it's cheaper, more cost effective. So ways to do this is you can go ahead and click on that color. And what we're going to do is we're going to go on the upper right hand corner. Here, I think there's a way you can switch this here. Even just clicking on it. I'm just wondering if I might need to duplicate this. Okay, just double click on that, that little rainbow. I'm going to cancel this. I'm going to double click on this little rainbow here. It's telling me that's the CMYK conversion or color book conversion. Click on the color mode and you're going to choose CMYK. So what we want to do is we want to click on process color and we're going to rename this C, and I'm just going to type in the rounded numbers, rounded off. C, M is 21, and I'm just reading off your, you see like CMYK there? I'm just reading these numbers here, and I'm just kind of rounding them off. So Y is 100, and K is 0. And I can preview what that's going to look like. And then I want to add it to my library. And you can create a new library. I'm just going to click OK. Okay, so here's my library. And I just added that to it. Put that right back here so you can see it. Okay, so the only problem with this is it also converts my other one, which I don't want that to happen. You see how it changed from the dots disappeared there? And then you can also tell over here the dot disappeared. So I'm going to undo that change. And what I'm going to do is before I do anything, I'm going to select this square. And I'm going to do a duplication of this. So I'm just going to drag and drop it. Or you can do like a new swatch, or duplicate swatch, sorry, on the upper right-hand corner. You're going to duplicate this same yellow one. I'm going to pull this up so you can see it. So then you can kind of change this to your CMYK without changing your other one. I'm just going to put CMYK yellow for now. Okay. So you can see right here, it's the CMYK yellow. You're going to do the same thing with this, the other color. So choose that second square underneath. I'm going to duplicate that, put that underneath. You can move it like a layer here and double click on the little rainbow icon, process color, CMYK. There we go. And it looks pretty similar, you know, from these two below and these two above. That looks pretty similar. So it looks good. Any questions about that? You're going to repeat the process down here. I'm going to shift select these two, make it that red. And then that's the gray. So I'm going to select that first. Actually, I'm going to leave these top ones the same. I'm going to just change the bottom ones to CMYK. So I'm going to duplicate this one just like we did. I'll just repeat the process here. Double click on the rainbow, process color. This is how you would convert it. So if somebody said, I want to convert this so I'm not paying full price for the Pantone color, that's how you would change it. That's how you would convert it in Illustrator. CMYK, process color. And that looks pretty similar. You can apply the CMYK tones to your logo once you're done. So you could switch this to your CMYK tones. I'm just going to go ahead and select this because I think that's what the directions say here. There we go. So you start off with your Pantone and then you could switch it to your CMYK. This one I already changed. Did I duplicate this one? I think I must have mixed that one up. Hold on one second. Yeah. The Pantone 186 I would have to create again. For some reason I missed that. So let me do that again. We're going to make this a spot color. And that's how you would revert it out. So if you accidentally converted that, that's how you would go the other way with it. Go ahead and save it. And there you go. I'm going to pull these up just slightly so they're kind of in the middle of your, you know, nicely spaced out. You don't have to. You know, if you wanted to, for your own sake, you could do like CMYK red. Just double click on the name CMYK blue. So you're not typing in all those coordinates, but you can. It's nice to have that in there just so if you're using that, you know, the colors ever, the CMYK colors, you can see what the colors are right away instead of, you know, having to click on the fill and all that. So that's why you would name it that. But, you know, for sake of time, I'm just kind of clicking in here and renaming them quickly. Any other questions, or are we all good to go? Just make sure that you, not only are you converting the tops from your spot to your cyan, CMYK at the bottom, the process colors, but you're also doing two color variation in a 3 color. And then also make sure you're using a color that's visible. You know, if you were to use, say, a color, let me show you what it would be a no-no here, with very low contrast, not a lot of contrast. Let's say, now I've had students do this before. They use colors like this. It's very hard to read, right? That's why, you know, using a contrasted color is important. Okay, so make sure you're aware of that, especially when you have smaller words. If this was super light too, it would be really hard to read. So make sure you're using enough contrast. The swatch is, you know, a little less important. It's important, but as far as readability is concerned, you know, it should have some contrast in it, but as far as readability, it won't be an issue with, you know, not being able to read. Okay, when you're done, you're going to save this out as a PDF. So you just go File, Save As, choose your Adobe PDF. I'm going to save this to the desktop. And smallest file is fine. Click Save PDF. Click OK. And that's the first part of this project, this assignment. So we went all through this first part. The second part, you would just open up Word and just talk about the reasons why you chose the color schemes that you did in your document. And then you would save that as a Word file. Does everybody know how to zip 2 files together or files together? Does anybody need me to go over that? Okay. So I'm just going to open up Word here and pretend like this is my rationale here. I'm going to put my first name, DES114, assignment 2. Okay, so just for sake of time, I'm just going to pretend like I wrote all of this out. Now I'm going to save this as a Word file based on the name. I think it was, let's see here, assignment 2, first and last name document. Okay, so it's the same thing, just a Word file. Okay, click Save. And then you'll have both of those documents to pull from. Let me hide some of my stuff here. I got a lot of stuff on my desktop. I'm just going to share my whole desktop here. Okay, so I have my, my Word file. And then I have my PDF. Double click on your PDF. Go ahead and take a look at it. Make sure it looks good before you zip it. Looks good. So these 2 files I need to zip. So select both of them, Shift select, or just highlight them. And there's 2 ways you can do this. You can go up to File, Compress, and it'll zip it. And there's the zip file. Or you can do a Control click over top when you select both and compress. You'll get this zipped file. Now you're going to want to name this, and it gives you a name in here. First and last assignment 2. So just go ahead and click over top of this, DES 114. My suggestion would be don't put the underscore in there. Just put assignment 2. And then you could even just put your last name. So I think when you start putting underscores in zip files, sometimes that'll screw it up and won't be easy to read when you upload it. I might not be able to open it. So avoiding any spaces or any underscores is probably the best thing to do. As long as you have these two correctly labeled, you're good. And then this would be what you would upload. Yeah, I noticed that in past submissions from students, they'll have underscores or spaces, and sometimes that kind of messes with the, I don't know what it is, it messes with the file. So then I can't open it. So usually that's my first thing to have them change, you know, is the name. Any questions about that? We're gonna go forward with your assessment. If not, it's pretty straightforward, I think. You got it? All right. The next assessment kind of goes along with this. It's just, I think, a little bit more involved. So go to your assessment 2. This is where we'll be playing around with the poster. So you're going to create a poster now, and you're going to be placing in that logo. So what might be really good for you to do, and you can read through this background here, is make sure your logo works, the color scheme works for the poster images. Okay, so it needs to be readable. Okay, so using the strongest, most viable color theme for your logo assignment this week, create a poster that will promote the Aqua Excursion Sunset Paddle Adventure. So you must incorporate the following. You must have the excursion logo, the final color. Choose your strongest color combination, and so it could be the 2 or the 3, and create a file in Illustrator of this logo alone. File in Illustrator, yeah, of this logo alone, crop tightly, and then make sure it's CMYK, and I'll show you how to do that. Up to 2 images from this file, you can use up to. You don't have to use 2, you can just use 1, it's fine as well. Your headline needs to be Sunset Paddle Adventure, your body copy needs to be here, so you can just copy and paste that in, and then you have a call to action, which needs to also be in there. Remember, this is a poster, just kind of keep that in mind. You're going to be doing, once you kind of redo the logo, you're going to be actually laying the poster out in InDesign. Your finished size is 11 by 17. You have a bleed size. Does everybody know what a bleed means? Do you know what a bleed means? Okay, so if you don't know, it's basically anything that goes beyond the trim edge, say an image or color bar that might be trimmed off. If you want that to not have a weird gap, if it's right up to the edge of the trim line, on the press, it could shift. So if you just have no bleed, but you have your image go right to the trim edge, you might have a weird white gap in between if it's shifted on press. So that's why bleeds are a must. Color space, CMYK. You're gonna pre-press requirements. So all images converted to CMYK. I can show you how to do that. All images placed in correct resolution. I'll show you how to do that. 300 pixels per inch at 100%. All spot colors converted to CMYK. Live area applied properly. No important text or element too close to the trim. So you want to keep a really good margin space around it. Bleeds correctly implemented. And document packaged for print. All right, so submission requirements, you're going to name your file as such here. You're going to export your InDesign file to a press quality PDF. I'll show you how to do that. You're going to include crop marks and bleeds. And just kind of note, there is a different print quality. Also, you want to make sure you're choosing press quality. I'll show you how to do that. You're going to package the InDesign file. I'll show you how to do that and zip it. Make sure there's no errors in the report. I'll show you how to, look out for that. And that's just kind of like errors saying like, maybe the image isn't syncing right. It's not updated or something like that. And then you're going to submit the press quality PDF with your file name as such. And then you're going to submit your zipped package. So you're going to have 2 submissions for this, a PDF and then a zipped package. All right, so let's get started, and I'll kind of walk through this so you guys kind of know how to approach this. I'm going to click on Sunset Petal Images first. I would suggest you doing that. You might find yourself changing the color scheme based on the images provided too, so just kind of note that. I'm going to pull this folder onto my desktop, and these are basically all the images that you have to choose from. It says, you know, you don't have to use all of them, but here's the images. Some of them work better on a vertical poster. There's the images there, okay? All right, so the first thing that you would need to do is download the images. And then we're going to choose your final logo that you like to go forward with. So with that being said, you're going to go back to your Illustrator file, and you're going to say, you know, I really like this color scheme or this one better. So you're going to choose one that you're going to go with. I'm going to choose this one. I'm going to group this and then copy. The reason why I'm going to do this is because I want to make sure that I'm creating a bigger version of this on a separate artboard. So I'm going to go File, New in Illustrator. I'm going to create a whole new document here. I'm going to choose an 8x8 frame for now. So, oh, I don't need all these artboards here. Hold on. Get rid of some artboards. I just need one. And I'm going to paste in my logo. Now it's kind of small, so I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. So there's a way that you can do this so you're not distorting it. Make sure you don't distort. So under your rotate tool is your scale tool. If you hit S on your keyboard, it'll go right to it. You're going to double click on your scale and make sure uniform is selected. I'm going to blow this up. Let's see, 180. Let's see what this looks like. Let's go even higher. And I'm going to go probably 260. Oops, I don't want to copy. Let's go 260. I'm going to pull this up, and I'm going to trim this artboard so I don't have so much below here. So how you do that is you would go to your document setup, file document setup, and you're going to choose edit artboards. When you do that, you'll see these little crop kind of bounding boxes here. You're going to pull that up. Just get it, you know, you want some space around it. Just get it to being like close as you can, and then just go ahead and deselect by selecting the selection tool. Okay? So this is your logo that you're going to use. So you're going to go File, Save As, and go ahead and I would just name this like Aqua Final Logo. I have it all caps. Save it as an AI file first, so you can go back, and if you need to change it, you can. It's like your working file. And then I would say go ahead and file export. Actually, before I do that, let me check the color mode here. I'm gonna make sure this is all CMYK. And it should be, because I think that's what I converted it to. Yeah, I have to ungroup it to check. Yep, I'm good. Remember how I converted that before, so I'm good. Okay, so I'm gonna go export as. This is an important step here, because we wanna make sure we don't have this white box behind it. So let me go to that step again. File, export, export as, and you wanna choose a PNG format. That's important. And hit export. And this box will come up, a panel box saying PNG options. We want to make sure the resolution is high, so 300 pixels per inch. And then we want to make sure this says transparent here, and click OK. That's really important, because that will make it so that this white box isn't going to come into your poster. Okay, any questions about that? So it's like a PNG file that you're going to create before you place it into InDesign. Okay, so now I'm going to open up InDesign, and Let me create a new document. I'll share my screen here. Hold on. Based on the specs given, it says 11 by 17 is the size in InDesign with a bleed size of 1/8 of an inch and CMYK color space. So 11 by 17 is where you would put in inches here if it's not in inches. You don't have to worry about facing pages, uncheck that. We just want one page. And then margins, what do we have? Bleed size, we don't really have margin. I would keep your margins. I would even set this at maybe 0.75, 0.75. It doesn't say because half of an inch is usually the default, but I'm gonna set mine a little bit bigger, 0.75. And that's kind of where you would align all of your images and your text. Okay. Sorry guys about my clock, it's really loud. Okay, your bleed, just make sure this little chain is selected and then you go ahead and change this to just hit one time on that top arrow and it'll change all of your bleeds to top, bottom, left, right to 1/8 of an inch. And then, I just ruined mine. 7 by 7. Let me go back here. I just changed this. 5. There we go. The slug you don't have to worry about. That's just for like if you wanted to give information to the printer. The slug is way down here, bleed and slug. If you wanted to give extra information to the printer, it didn't want it printed, it would give you a slug area. We really don't need that. I'm gonna hit create and then go back to InDesign here. So this is the 11 by 17. I'm gonna zoom in so you can see. So this red line here is your bleed. So any type of photograph will go straight to this line, not the trim edge. The trim edge, where it's going to be trimmed with the printer is where the gray meets the white. And then you would pull any type of element that's going to be wanting to be trimmed perfectly to the red area, which is your bleed. Your purple marks here, the lines that show the purple are your margins. This is what I changed from 1/2 inch to 3/4. Just, you know, the more margin space you have, the more important the information on the inside becomes because it's almost acting like a frame. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have this just all white in between here. That's just where maybe your copy will align and all of your other elements possibly. Okay, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and save this as DES114 Assessment 2. First and last name. We're going to say this is an InDesign file. I'm going to take a look at all of my options for my images that I want to use. I'm going to take my rectangle tool. When you want to place an image, you're going to use that. I'm going to do a full bleed. So I'm going to go from bleed to bleed with my rectangle tool. So I actually dragged it out from the very top bleed to the very bottom. I'm going to make just one big focal point image. And I'm going to do a Command D, and I'm going to place an image in here. Now, I'm going to show you something after I do this that you'll kind of have to go back to change again. So kind of bear with me here. So I'm going to choose this image. And then I'm going to go to Object, Fitting, Fill Frame Proportionately, so make sure it fits in this frame nicely. This is like my focal point. Okay. Now, because I placed this in here, that doesn't necessarily mean it's ready for print. So we got to do an extra step here before we actually place this in. So once you figure out the image that you want to use, you're going to open the same image up in Photoshop before you actually place it. So I'm going to show you here. This is the extra step you have to do. So open up Photoshop. And this is a step that every designer has to do before placing images in for final print. So go into Photoshop and go ahead and open up whatever images that you're using, and I'm only going to use this one so it'll be easy to change. I'm going to open up this kayak image here. You can unlock it if you want. Just double click on that layer to unlock it. We're not going to be doing too much to this. We just want to check the color mode. So go up to image. Let me share my whole screen so you can see everything I'm doing. So go up to image and go ahead and check your color mode. So image mode, this will tell you what color mode it's in. We want it to be in CMYK, not RGB. RGB is okay if only using the image for online purposes, but for print, we want to choose CMYK. So go ahead and choose CMYK, click OK. It's just telling you how it's converting. Now we want to check the size. So we go to image, image size. This looks pretty good. It's already high res, so the resolution is set at 300 pixels per inch, and it's pretty much the same size as my layout, so I don't even have to change that. I'm going to hit cancel. I'm going to go File, Save As, because I changed the color mode. And typically for print, you want to save it as a TIFF. This is going to make it a really big file, so it might be larger than what the JPEG is. But that's exactly what you need for a high-res print piece. So go ahead and save this as a TIFF. Now that I'm hoping you guys don't have issues with uploading this, everything else is okay. Now we're done. So we saved it as a TIFF file. Do you guys have any questions about that? Once you do that, you're going to just place it back into your InDesign file. So you're going to go back to your InDesign. This is the RGB variation, so I have to do a Command D, and I have to find that TIFF file that I saved. Yeah, this is going to be, what I would probably suggest is saving it out as a JPEG, just because it won't be so large. But I want to let you guys know that typically, if you're doing this in the real world, let's go ahead, just because I don't want you guys having problems uploading this, go ahead and save it as a JPEG once you're done changing the CMYK. I don't want you guys having issues with how big it is, because right now this was 170 megabytes versus 3 megabytes. So just know that for real print purposes, you would save it out as a TIFF, but for purposes of you guys not having a headache uploading it, export it out as a JPEG after you save it out as a CMYK color mode, and then go ahead and place that in there. Okay, just kind of keep note of that. Trying to save any headaches for you guys. All right, the next thing we need to do is it says up to 2 images. So you can use, no more than 2, but you don't have to use 2. I'm just going to use 1. I'm going to go ahead and copy the headline. So I'm just going to do Command C after I highlight it. And I'm just going to take the type tool and drag a box over my document and do a Command V, which is paste. Paste in my headline there. Separate box. I'm going to go back and I'm going to get the body copy. Now this should be in a hierarchical order, meaning the headline, the focal point is my image, then maybe the logo, then the headline, or even the headline could be first, and body copy is secondary. I think contact information should be bold as well, but it shouldn't be as big as the headline. Okay, so just kind of paste these in different little copy boxes. So you'll have 3 little copy boxes to play around with, and we'll play around with that in a second. The next thing would be the logo. So go ahead and take out a box. I would say draw this frame box kind of centered on a line to your margins so that we know it's centered in here. So do a Command D after we do a rectangle frame box. We're going to go to your desktop, and remember when we did that ping, exported the logo as a ping, we want to find that ping file. And we're going to place it in here. So you can see there's no white box. We did it correctly. All right, now we have to start. I think I have all the information I need, right? Yes. Now we just need to start playing around with this so it works for overall hierarchy of my elements. So I'm going to go ahead and place this kind of up here. You guys kind of play around with it, see what works for you guys. I'm going to make this a little smaller. Object fitting, fill frame. Actually, that's fitting, fit content. We'll make it smaller. The logo doesn't have to be big. It shouldn't be huge. It should be, you know, you should be able to see it, but it shouldn't be really big on the page. This is probably a good size. So this is 4, 5, 6, 7, about 3 or 4 inches long. That's perfect. If it's too big, it just gets too, like, you know, overly, your whole layout becomes unbalanced because of that. I guess that's kind of what I'm trying to say here. Okay, make sure your copy or your box kind of is showing that whole logo there. Okay, now you're going to choose a typeface that's going to go with your brand. This is a simple sans serif typeface, so I would say use something that's similar. Okay, it doesn't mean that you have to choose the exact same type, but I would, you know, go with something that isn't super decorative. This. But it works for your piece. Now you could probably mess around with this, so some of it is decorative, like maybe Sunset Paddle is a different font. You know, like that, maybe it's bigger. Now this is your headline. It should be, you know, the bigger part of your type. I'm going to spread this out a little bit. So I'm just kind of playing around with the kerning and tracking. So you can see how I kind of set that apart. I can even make it a little bit bigger if I wanted. Maybe just a little bigger. What's the size here? 63. You want this to read together if you do something similar to that. Okay. Now I can always kind of play around with the colors as well. Say if I wanted to change Sunset Paddle to maybe the red in the logo, if that works. You could do something like that where maybe this becomes the blue or the gray. And play around with that. Just make sure it's readable, you know, over top of this image. I think that's key and probably one of the hardest things to figure out because some of the images are a little like darker, harder to see. I'm going to go with universe with this because it's a very simple simple and neutral typeface. Now remember, this is a poster, so this is going to be probably read within 4 or 5 feet from your face. It's not like a menu where you're seeing it inches from your face. So you want to make sure that the body copy is large enough to see, but not too big. So I would say probably, you don't want it to be too big because it gets kind of clunky too. I would say probably between an 18, 19, 20 is good. And I'm going to center. I started centering my stuff because of the image. So I'm centering my, not only am I centering my logo, I'm centering my body copy. And I could make this, you know, thinner as far as my overall copy box because you don't want a really long line lengths. Why is that? Do you guys know? If you have a really long line length in your, You can even put like a space in between, because if you read through the text here, it kind of gives you two different, you know, maybe you can make this a little bit more bold, this copy, and then maybe this is a little bigger. Something like that. Kind of separate those two. I think there needs to be a period right here too. And then just notice how this is breaking. You might need to do a shift return here and center everything. And always kind of zoom out, zoom back in, see how everything's going. I would probably move this up a little bit towards my margin. And just because I need more space in between here, just to give a more balanced look. You can pull your headline closer to the body copy. Just make sure it's all perfectly centered and readable. Now the only thing I have left is my pull out, my call out box copy down here. Don't forget that. I'm going to make that universe as well. Now I'm going to do a bold, ultra condensed. And this could be larger too, because this is important information because it's telling you where to go. It's the call out. And I'm going to make this all caps just because I think I have an idea of what I'm going to do with this. So I'm going to go up to, it's my character box. Setting type in InDesign is nice to do, and InDesign is just, you have so much control over your alignment and your fonts. Okay, it's just taking a while here. Sorry, guys. All right, I'm going to go to the upper right-hand corner and say all caps. And then I'll change it to all caps. And then you can tell it kind of gets lost down here, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that this is a little bit more highlighted and pronounced. And one way to do that, besides changing the color on the actual type itself, is maybe doing like a thin box, like a color box. Maybe the box is the blue. You want to keep it cohesive with, you know, the brand. You want to keep it unifying. So we're going to bring the text forward, because right now it's behind my box. I have to go arrange, bring to front. Make sure it's centered in there. And then I'm going to make this, because it's really hard to read like this, I'm going to make the fill white. So I double click on my fill and change that to white. Let me hide. Oh, sorry guys. I go to preview so you guys can see how this is starting to look. Okay. Any questions so far? See how it kind of pulls that information out, and kind of, I could bring this down just slightly, I think, to balance this a little bit better. So I have space in between my logo and my headline. You don't want this too close because it just becomes too crowded looking. But the headline and your body copy can be closer together. Just make sure your body copy is smaller than your headline and that you have some space in between. And I would recommend putting space after this first copy and maybe making this copy just slightly different, because it's kind of, it doesn't really belong with this type, because it's kind of giving you facts about reservations and packages. It's kind of a different calling when it comes to the body copy. And then of course I made this very different too. It contrasted and highlighted in a way, but pulling it down at the bottom. What's nice about this is you start out with the image pulling you in, then you see maybe the aqua logo, and then it follows you down all the way down to the very bottom, which is the call out. Now you can put, like say if you wanted to add maybe a little bit of a drop shadow here, you can definitely do that. Go up to object effects. Just make sure It's a subtle drop shadow. I would not recommend something like this. So when you go to Object Effects, you can adjust this. So you can adjust the distance of the drop shadow. You can adjust the opacity here. So it's just like a slight drop shadow. Click OK when you're done. And that kind of gives it a little bit of a, you can do the same thing here with the logo if you need a little bit more oomph to it. Now, this won't always work on all logos. You can see how, you know, maybe the excursions is a little harder to see there. I wouldn't put it on your body copy if it's black. It just makes it harder to see and read. Everything else I would just, you know, let alone as well. That just gives you a little bit of an oomph to it. Now, let's say if you don't go with this picture and you go with one of the other ones, just make sure that I would probably use a more vertical picture for this if you're doing something where you're just using that one picture. Now here, this is where my logo would be a little bit in trouble because it's hard to see on this contrasted picture. So if I wanted to use this picture, you know, I was dead set, oh, I really want to use this, I'm going to go ahead and change, obviously, the color here. And then, obviously, oh, I would need to change the color in the logo as well. So I would actually have to go back here. I'm just going to do File Save As. I'm going to make this a 2. And I would just do a simple change. But whatever change that you make, you're going to need to make it on your assignment too, remember. So I'd make this like slightly less gray. And then don't forget to export it out as a ping. So that's what it would look like with that. This is a little hard to read too, so I'd probably make it that gray. Okay. So just something to think about. If you do that, you're going to have to change your, like I said, your first assignment. Let me see what other pictures we have here. We have this one. The logo probably, the first logo would probably work for this one. And I would just change maybe that to red or blue, depending. Now also you can add pictures in this. Say if you're using this one, you could definitely add a couple more pictures in here if you wanted to. Say if you wanted to keep it symmetrical. I would definitely keep it symmetrical if you're doing pictures. So I would hold down the Shift key when you're drawing these rectangles out and just go ahead and do 2 that are the same size ratio. Keep that consistency and then go ahead and do a File D. And you can place in. Now, of course, if you do this, you're going to need to change these images in Photoshop after, you know, converting them to CMYK, which I didn't do yet. I'm just placing from the file here. Object fitting, fill frame proportionately. We'll get that to be filled in there. So you can do something like that where you're kind of showing these, and you can, you know, throw a drop shadow in that if you want, since you did it to your other ones. Pull this out though, a little bit more subtle here. Make it pop a little bit. You don't have to do like a you know, a centered alignment either. Like say if you wanted to do something that's more left aligned, just make sure it all kind of is aligned together. I just think that the center line works best. You know, you can kind of play around with it and see what works. But I think that because it's so vertical, it's hard to go any other alignment other than the centered alignment. Just doesn't, especially because our image is more centered here. Probably move this down a little bit. Can even have the logo down here if it works better. Make it a little bigger. Just giving you some ideas here. Oh, I just did a bad thing here. We'll do that. There we go. Try not to stretch or distort anything like I just did. Yeah, so I think like centering it would probably be best for this. But I mean, hey, play around with it, see what you can come up with. There's, you know, look up posters, kayak posters, any type of posters that maybe deal with water sports that you can get inspired by. You know, that'll kind of give you some ideas of what you can do. All right, any questions about that? Let me go back to my original one here. No questions? All right, there's another step in here that's kind of important to go over. So before we wrap it up, let's go ahead and see. We went over a lot of stuff today, so hopefully you guys got this. All right, so we did everything through here correctly. Just make sure you're converting it to CMYK. Like I said, all images are 300 pixels per inch. Please are set up. You're going to package for print, so I'm going to show you how to do that. So you're going to name your file, your InDesign file, which I already did. You're going to export your InDesign file to a quality, press quality PDF. So let's go ahead and do that first. So when you're ready to go, save this as your InDesign file, and then we're going to go File, PDF Presets, Adobe PDF Presets, and we're going to go to Press Quality. See how it says Press Quality? And choose that. Now, before you click anything, make sure it's going to the right spot. Click Save, and you want to pay attention to this box here. So what your specifications are telling you is you want to include crop marks and bleeds. Okay, so make sure you're doing this part. Go to marks and bleeds right here in your box, select and highlight that. And all we want to do is check mark crops and bleeds, crop marks and bleed marks. And then click export. Now let's go ahead and open that PDF so we can at least see what that looks like. I would definitely tell you guys to open up your PDF just to see if it downloaded correctly. For some reason, there we go. Can't hide that. All right. I have all kinds of zipped files on here. All right, so that PDF looks like is right here. I'm going to zoom out here so you can see what it looks like. So you should see crop marks. When you zoom in here, you'll see it a little bit. Your crop marks are right here. And that's what you're going to submit for your first part of this. Okay, all right, that's one part. Now you're going to package your InDesign file and zip the package folder InDesign creates. Make sure there's no errors in the report. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go back to your InDesign file. Where's my InDesign? I think I closed out. Give me 1 second. There we go. So when they mean by errors is just go ahead, see how, let me move this up so you can see. Right here it says no errors. If there are any errors, it would be red instead of green right here. So you would just say define profiles and it should tell you, like say if this image that you're trying to link wasn't on your computer, it's going to show as a red error. So you just fix it before you go forward. You just double click on it, it'll tell you what's going on. But mine's good, so I'm going to go forward. So this is an InDesign file. Now I need to package this, so pay attention. In InDesign, go up to File and choose Package. It's super easy. This little package panel box will come open. It's just going to tell you, this is the summary. These are the fonts that are used in this particular file, links and images. So right here is where you can actually check to see if you converted all of your files appropriately. Because right now I can see one is converted to CMYK, but the other one isn't. Remember how I said I didn't do that with this one? So that's where I'll see if you converted it perfectly or not. Or you might want to pre-check it yourself. Everything else is good. So hit package. And when this box comes up, make sure you just save it as whatever the file says to name it in these specifications. And then just make sure all of this is checked. You can uncheck your PDF because you already created your press quality one. So you don't even need that. So click package. It might take a while. But once you're done, it's going to put this folder, and I'll show you here. Right here. So if I double click on this folder, this is what I just packaged. So it has my InDesign file in here. It has my fonts. It has my linked images that I used. And you can, I would probably do this, but you don't have to. You could throw your PDF in there if you want, or you could submit those separately. Completely up to you. It might just be easier just to throw it in there. And then all you would have to do is zip this. So go File, Compress. And this is the zip file that you would submit. Any questions about that? And that's it. This is a little bit more work, but I don't think it's too bad. It's just kind of making sure everything's converted properly, and you're using the principles of design, making sure that your logo is readable over top of the image that you're using. You don't have to do a full image either. Like say for instance, maybe you just wanted to use half of this. I would not split, it's not good to split anything in half, so I wouldn't do a half. I would do maybe like a 1/3. Okay, just because when you do that, when you split it in half, there's an automatic disconnect between both sides. So I would do like a 1/3. Say if maybe you made this, I don't know, like black or white, or even a color. Probably a color in here, maybe a yellow or an orange in the background here. I don't know if I like that either. Like a blue. I would have to change the contrast of my logo, so I'm probably going to want to use something light, obviously. But you could do something like that too, where you're kind of using more of like a color block behind here. You can also do something like this, where, let's see. The color block that you use is transparent. So let's go to your properties. And say we want to make this transparent. So we want it, but we just don't want it to be full color. Just go to your opacity and we can dial that down a little bit. And you can even feather this, like so. This is another kind of cool thing to check out. So if you wanted to feather this from transparent to this color, full color, select your box and go over here into your gradient feather. Let me pull this in so you can see it. Gradient feather right here. And just click and drag up. Oh, I'm sorry, click and drag down. So I would start probably in a little bit in the middle and then go down. And that kind of gives you this feathered effect. Let's see here if it goes a little bit more. Yeah. So it depends on where you start and drag down. There we go. Kind of gives you a nice feathered effect there. So that's another thing that you can do too. And that's nice because it gives you a little bit more contrast if you need it somewhere, you know, within the image that you're using. All right. Any questions at all at this point? I'm going to wrap it up here if you guys don't have any questions. Well, thank all of you for coming in to watch the lecture. Thank you guys. Hopefully that clarified a lot of things. And you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll be seeing you on the discussion boards. You're welcome. All right, guys, you have good luck with this going forward. Let me know if you have any questions, all right? Sounds good.